The doors to the bridge opened with a soft hiss. Commander Lisa Grant walked in, and every person on the bridge turned to look at her. She was small, barely reaching 5 foot 5 inches tall. Her uniform was clean and pressed, not a single wrinkle visible. Her gray eyes moved across the bridge slowly, taking in everything. She wore a calm smile on her face, the kind that gave nothing away. Lieutenant Jake Morrison sat at the navigation console. He leaned closer to Ensign Kate Palmer, who sat next to him. His voice was low, barely above a whisper. Another one from behind a desk. Command must be running out of real officers. Kate nodded without looking at him. Her fingers moved across her screen, pulling up files. I looked at her record already. Lisa Grant. She spent 20 years moving supplies around different stations. She has never been in a real fight, not once, and they want her to command this ship. We are sitting right next to Krathian space. This makes no sense. Across the bridge, Chief Engineer Danny Wright did not bother keeping his voice down. She probably knows how to fill out forms better than she knows how to fire our weapons. If the Krathians attack, we are all dead. Lisa heard every word. The bridge was not that big, and she had excellent hearing. But her face showed nothing. She had heard this before many times over the years. People looked at her and saw what they expected to see. A small woman with a clean record and no combat experience. They never saw what was really there. That was fine with her. It was better this way. She walked to the command chair in the center of the bridge. The chair had belonged to Captain Henry Blake until 3 weeks ago. He died in a battle with Krathian raiders. The crew loved him. They trusted him. Now they had her instead, and they clearly did not like the change. Lisa sat down and placed her hands on the armrests. "Status report," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. Jake straightened up in his chair. "We are holding position at the edge of the Kepler sector, ma'am. Our sensors show normal activity. The Krathian fleet is staying on their side of the neutral zone. Everything is quiet." "Good," Lisa said. "Keep us at condition yellow. I want the watch rotation changed every 6 hours. Fresh people on those sensors at all times. No exceptions." "Yes, Commander," Jake answered. His tone was respectful enough, but Lisa could hear the doubt underneath. He did not think she knew what she was doing. None of them did. The hours passed slowly. The crew did their jobs, checking screens and running system diagnostics. But the tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife. Everyone moved like they were walking on broken glass. They had lost their captain, a man who led them through countless battles. Now they had this unknown woman sitting in his chair, and they had no idea what to expect from her. When the shift change came, Lisa stood up from her chair. "Lieutenant Morrison, you have the bridge. I will be in the mess hall if you need me." She walked off the bridge and down the corridor. The ship was a heavy cruiser called the Valiant. It had been in service for 12 years and carried a crew of 450 people. Right now, every single one of those people was probably wondering why Command had sent them a logistics officer instead of a real combat commander. The mess hall was crowded when she arrived. The room went quiet as soon as she walked through the door. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. People stared. Lisa walked to the food dispenser like nothing was wrong. She grabbed a tray, selected a meal, and found an empty table in the corner. She sat down and began to eat. Around her, the conversation slowly started up again. But they were quieter now, more careful. She could feel eyes on her back. People were talking about her, she knew that much. Wondering who she was. Wondering if she could keep them alive. Sergeant Amy Collins sat at a table on the other side of the room. She was in charge of the Marine Detachment, 50 soldiers trained for boarding actions and ground combat. She watched Lisa eat and shook her head. "She does not look like much," she said to Corporal Steve Turner, who sat next to her. Steve shrugged and took a bite of his food. "Command sent her here. We have to follow orders. But I do not see how someone who pushed papers around for 20 years is going to help us if the Krathians decide to cross that border. We need a fighter, not a clerk." Amy nodded slowly. "Captain Blake knew how to fight. He kept us alive through some bad situations. This woman? I do not know. I really do not know." Lisa finished her meal in silence. She stood up, placed her tray in the cleaning unit, and walked back to her quarters. The corridors were busy with crew members going about their duties. Some nodded to her as she passed. Others looked away. She expected nothing different. Her quarters were small but functional. A bed, a desk, a small bathroom, and a window that looked out into space. She stood by that window for a long time, staring at the stars. They looked peaceful from here, beautiful, but she knew better. Space was not peaceful. It was full of dangers that most people never saw coming. She had requested this assignment, pulled strings with people she knew in intelligence, called in favors that she had earned over 2 decades of service. The Kepler sector was about to become very dangerous, and she knew it. Intelligence reports that would never reach this ship told a clear story. The Krathians were planning something big, and the Valiant was going to be right in the middle of it. Lisa rolled up the sleeves of her uniform. Her forearms were covered in tattoos, not pretty designs or artistic patterns. These were military marks, coordinates, dates, unit insignias. Each one told a story. Each one represented something that would never appear in any official record. 20 years of black operations. 20 years of classified missions. 20 years of wars fought in the darkness between stars, where no cameras watched and no reporters asked questions. She had commanded strike teams deep in enemy territory. She had destroyed enemy bases that officially never existed. She had fought battles that could never be acknowledged because admitting they happened would start wars that nobody wanted. Her crew thought she had never seen combat. They looked at her service record and saw station assignments and logistics postings. They had no idea that those were cover positions. They did not know that while she was supposedly managing supply chains, she was actually leading teams of special operators on missions that would make most soldiers run away in fear. And that was exactly how it had to be. Her real record was sealed. Classified at the highest levels. Only a handful of people in the entire fleet knew what she had really done, what she was really capable of. Everyone else saw what intelligence wanted them to see. A capable administrator, a competent officer. Nothing special, nothing threatening. Lisa looked down at the tattoos on her arms. There were so many of them, too many. Each mark was a reminder of people she had lost. Friends who died in battles that nobody would ever know about. Soldiers who gave their lives for missions that would never be mentioned in history books. She rolled her sleeves back down, covering the marks. Her crew did not need to know. Not yet, maybe not ever. What mattered was keeping them alive when the storm came, and it was coming. She could feel it. Years of experience told her that the Krathians were preparing for something major. The intelligence reports confirmed it. Fleet movements, supply buildups, communications traffic. All the signs were there. The Valiant was the only ship in this sector. Command had spread the fleet thin, trying to cover too much space with too few ships. When the Krathians came, reinforcements would be at least an hour away. Maybe more. That meant the Valiant would have to hold alone. 450 lives depending on decisions she would have to make in seconds. Lisa sat down at her desk and pulled up tactical maps on her computer. She studied Krathian fleet positions, analyzed their recent movements, calculated likely attack vectors. She had fought the Krathians before many times. She knew how they thought, how they fought, what they would do and what they would never do. That knowledge had kept her alive through situations that should have killed her. It had helped her win battles that should have been losses. And now it would help her protect this crew, whether they trusted her or not. She worked through the night building contingency plans, running scenarios in her head, preparing for every possibility. Sleep could wait. It always could. Old habits from her Black Ops days were hard to break. When you operated behind enemy lines, sleep could get you killed. You learned to go without it. At 0600 hours, her alarm went off. Time to get ready for the morning shift. Lisa stood up, stretched, and walked to her bathroom. She looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked tired, small, unremarkable, perfect. She got dressed, making sure her uniform was perfect. Every button in place, every crease sharp. Then she rolled down her sleeves, hiding the tattoos once more. The crew would see what they expected to see. A desk officer playing at command. Someone to doubt, someone to worry about, that was fine. Let them doubt. Let them worry. When the time came, when the Krathians came, they would see the truth. But for now, Lisa was content to let them think whatever they wanted. She walked back to the bridge, ready to face another day of quiet whispers and doubtful looks. The crew would learn soon enough. The only question was whether that lesson would come in time to save their lives. The alarm screamed through the Valiant at 4 a.m. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Crew members jumped out of their beds and ran to their stations. Lisa was already on the bridge. She had not slept. She stood next to the command chair, studying the tactical display with calm eyes. Jake ran onto the bridge, still pulling his jacket on. His hair was messy and his eyes were barely open. "Report," Lisa said before he could even reach his station. Kate was already at her console, her fingers moving fast across the controls. "3 Krathian destroyers just crossed into our sector. They are moving fast, heading straight for the mining colony on Delta 7. Lisa's voice stayed level. "How long until we can intercept them?" Jake dropped into his seat and checked his screens. 12 minutes if we burn at maximum speed. "But Commander, those are Krathian warships. 3 of them. We are just 1 cruiser. We should call for backup." Lisa kept her eyes on the display. The 3 red dots representing enemy ships moved steadily toward the green dot marking Delta 7 colony. "Reinforcements are 40 minutes away. Delta 7 has 3,000 civilians, men, women, and children. We do not have 40 minutes. Plot an intercept course. Maximum power to engines." Jake turned in his chair to look at her. "Commander, with all respect, this is suicide. 3 destroyers against 1 cruiser. We need to wait for backup." Lisa's eyes locked onto his. Her voice was quiet but hard as steel. "Execute the order, Lieutenant, now." Jake swallowed hard and turned back to his console. "Yes, ma'am." Setting intercept course. The Valiant surged forward. The engines roared at maximum capacity, pushing the big ship faster than it was meant to go. The crew worked quickly, preparing weapons and bringing shields online. But Lisa could feel their fear. It rolled off them like heat from a fire. They thought they were flying toward their deaths. They thought their inexperienced commander was going to get them all killed. 8 minutes to intercept, Kate called out. "The Krathians are arming their weapons. They are targeting the colony's power grid. If they hit it, the whole colony loses life support." Lisa studied the tactical display like she was reading a book. Her mind processed everything she saw. Attack angles, weapon ranges, shield frequencies, the likely tactics the Krathians would use. She knew all of it. She had fought Krathian ships dozens of times before. She knew their weaknesses. She knew their patterns. She knew exactly what they would do before they did it. Weapons, target the lead destroyer's port shield generator. "Helm, prepare for evasive pattern Delta 7 on my mark." Danny's voice came over the comm from engineering. "Pattern Delta 7? Commander, that pattern is not in our tactical database. I have never heard of it." "Execute it anyway," Lisa said calmly. "Trust me." Silence filled the bridge. The crew exchanged worried looks. Their commander was giving orders that made no sense. Orders that were not in any manual. Orders that came from somewhere else. Somewhere they did not understand. 5 minutes to intercept, Kate said. Her voice shook slightly. "The Krathians are hailing us. They are demanding that we stand down." "Ignore them," Lisa said. "All power to forward shields. Prepare to fire on my command." The bridge went completely quiet. The only sounds were the hum of systems and the steady ping of the tactical display. Every eye was on Lisa, this small woman who nobody knew, this desk officer who was leading them into a fight they could not win. 30 seconds, Kate whispered. Lisa gripped the armrests of her chair. Her knuckles turned white from the pressure. "Weapons free, fire!" The Valiant's main cannons erupted. Bright blue beams of energy lanced across space. They hit exactly where Lisa had called the shot. The lead destroyer's port shield generator exploded in a flash of light. Before the Krathians could respond, before they could even understand what was happening, Lisa shouted again. "Evasive pattern Delta 7. Execute now." The helmsman's hands moved on pure instinct. His training took over even though he did not understand the maneuver. The Valiant twisted and rolled in a complex spiral. A ship that size should not have been able to move like that. It was impossible. But it happened anyway. The Krathian return fire passed harmlessly through empty space. The space where the Valiant had been just seconds before. Jake stared at his tactical screen in complete shock. "How did you know that would work?" Lisa's voice stayed perfectly calm, like they were not in the middle of a desperate battle, like death was not flying past them in bright streams of energy. "Target the second destroyer's starboard weapons array. Fire when ready." Another volley of fire streaked from the Valiant. Another Krathian system went dark. Explosions rippled across the second destroyer's hull. The enemy ships were breaking formation now. They were confused, disorganized. They had never faced tactics like this. They had never seen a human commander who seemed to know their every move before they made it. The Krathian commander's voice crackled over the communications channel. The ship's computer translated his words. All ships focus fire on the Valiant. Take them down now. Lisa's lips curved into the smallest smile. Helm pattern Gamma 9. Weapons prepare full spread. I want targeting solutions on all 3 ships. The weapons officer looked up from his console. His face was pale. Commander, that will drain our power reserves completely. Every capacitor will be empty. If we miss, we will be dead in space with no shields and no weapons. We will not miss, Lisa said. Fire! The Valiant blazed like a star. Every weapon on the ship fired at once. The bridge lights dimmed as power drained from every system. For 3 long seconds, the universe held its breath. 3 seconds that felt like hours. 3 seconds where everyone on the bridge wondered if they were about to die. Then all 3 Krathian destroyers went dark. Their shields collapsed. Their weapon systems overloaded. Their engines died. They floated in space, completely disabled. Dead ships. Kate's voice shook with disbelief. The Krathians are retreating. Their engines just came back online. They are running away. The bridge exploded with cheers. Crew members jumped from their seats. They hugged each other. They shouted with joy and relief. They had survived. Against all odds, they had survived. Lisa sat quietly in her chair. Her face showed nothing. No excitement, no relief. Just calm focus. Damage report, Danny's voice came over the comm. Minor shield damage. Nothing critical. Commander, how did you know those maneuvers would work? They are not in any tactical manual I have ever seen. Not in any simulation. Nowhere. Lisa stood up and smoothed her uniform. Get me a damage assessment from Delta 7 Colony. Confirm that all civilians are safe. And someone bring me coffee. It is going to be a long day. She walked to her ready room. Behind her, the crew watched with new eyes. The whispers started again, but they were different now. Not doubt, not concern. Wonder, fear, respect. Who was this woman? Where had she come from? How did she do what she just did? In her ready room, Lisa sat down at her desk. She pulled up files on her computer. Intelligence reports. Classified communications. Things the crew would never see. The Krathian retreat was temporary. She knew that. They would come back. Next time with more ships. Next time prepared for her tactics. Next time ready to destroy the Valiant and everyone on it. She had bought time. A day, maybe 2. That was all. Now she had to use that time to prepare the crew for what was coming. They had to be ready. They had to trust her completely. Because when the Krathians came back, there would be no room for doubt or hesitation. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Come in, she said. Jake entered. He held a cup of coffee in each hand. He set one on her desk and kept the other for himself. I thought you might need this. Thank you, Lieutenant. Jake sat down in the chair across from her desk. He was quiet for a long moment, just staring at her. Finally, he spoke. Who are you? Lisa took a sip of coffee. It was hot and bitter. Perfect. I am your commanding officer. No, Jake said. You are something else. Something more. Those maneuvers you used out there, those tactics, they do not exist. I checked the database. Every tactical pattern we have is in there. Hundreds of them. But Delta 7 and Gamma 9 are not there. They do not exist. They exist, Lisa said quietly. They are just not in the standard database. Then where did you learn them? Lisa set down her coffee cup. She looked at Jake for a long moment, deciding how much to tell him. I learned them by fighting enemies who did not play by our rules. I learned them by surviving situations that should have killed me. I learned them because I had to. Your file says you spent 20 years behind a desk. My file says what intelligence wants it to say. Jake leaned forward. I tried to access your classified records. Used every clearance code I have. Your entire file before 20 years ago is redacted, completely blacked out. Just one note at the top, Special Operations Division. Records sealed. What does that mean? Lisa stood and walked to the window. Stars filled the darkness beyond the glass. It means I fought in wars that nobody knows about. It means I did things that will never appear in any history book. It means some soldiers never get medals or recognition because the battles they fight can never be acknowledged. The crew deserves to know who is commanding them. Lisa turned to face him. The crew deserves to stay alive. If keeping certain information classified helps keep them breathing, then that is what I will do. You saw what happened today. We survived. That is what matters, Jake nodded slowly. The next 3 weeks were harder than anything the crew had ever experienced. Lisa pushed them beyond their limits. Combat drills at all hours of the day and night. No warning, no preparation time. The alarm would sound and everyone had to be at their stations in under 2 minutes. If they took longer, they ran the drill again. She made them execute maneuvers that seemed impossible. Ships were not supposed to move like that. Tactics were not supposed to be that aggressive, that precise, that strange. The helmsman complained that the maneuvers would tear the ship apart. Lisa told him to do it anyway. The ship held together, barely. But slowly, day by day, the crew began to change. They stopped complaining. They stopped questioning. They started to trust. They started to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could survive what was coming. One morning, Lisa appeared in the ship's gym wearing workout gear. Her sleeves were short, and for the first time, the crew could see her arms clearly. Both forearms were covered in tattoos. Not pretty designs, military marks, coordinates, dates, unit insignias that nobody recognized. The gym went silent. 40 Marines stopped their training and stared. Amy Collins stood near the front, holding training weights in her hands. She lowered them slowly and looked at the tattoos covering Lisa's arms. "Those look like combat citations," Amy said carefully. Lisa walked to the center of the gym. "They are. Each one represents an operation I commanded or participated in. Operations you will not find in any history book or database." Steve stepped forward, studying a particular mark on her left forearm. It showed a stylized skull with crossed swords underneath. "That is the insignia of Shadow Company. But Shadow Company is a myth, a story that officers tell to scare enemy soldiers. It is not real." Lisa met his eyes. "No, we were very real, and very good at our job. I led Shadow Company for 5 years. We conducted operations in 18 different star systems against 7 different hostile species. Our mission was simple: eliminate threats before they became known threats." The Marines looked at each other in shock. The woman they had dismissed as a paper pusher was a legend. A ghost from the shadows, someone who had done things that most soldiers only heard whispered about in dark corners. Amy set down her weights. "Why are you telling us this now?" "Because you need to understand what is coming," Lisa said. "The Krathians are not going to send 3 destroyers next time. They are going to send everything they have in this sector. When they come, you need to trust that I know how to fight them. Not because of theory, not because of simulations, but because I have killed more Krathians than anyone else in the fleet." She pointed to another tattoo, a series of small marks running down her inner arm. "Dozens of them. Each one of these represents a ship I destroyed in combat." I stopped counting at 300. Complete silence filled the gym. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. 300 ships. The number was impossible to believe. But there were the marks. Right there on her arm. 300 small lines. 300 kills, Lisa continued speaking. "You want to know why Command gave me this ship? Not because I am good at logistics, because intelligence knows what is coming. They know the Krathians are planning a major attack. They needed someone who could hold this position until reinforcements arrive. Someone who has fought impossible odds and won." Amy straightened her back. "What do you need from us, Commander?" "I need you to be ready to board enemy vessels. The tactics I am teaching the bridge crew will disable their ships, but we will need to secure them. And I need you prepared for close-quarters combat against an enemy that has no concept of mercy or surrender." Steve nodded firmly. "We are Marines. We are always ready." "Good," Lisa said. "Because in 3 days I am going to teach you how to breach a Krathian destroyer in under 2 minutes. And you are going to practice it until you can do it blind, deaf, and in 0 gravity." Word spread through the ship faster than wildfire. Within hours, everyone knew. The commander was not who they thought she was. She was not a desk officer. She was not inexperienced. She was something else entirely. Something dangerous. Something deadly. The crew's attitude changed completely. They trained harder. They pushed themselves further. They stopped questioning her orders and started following them without hesitation. They began to see the method in her unconventional approach. Every strange maneuver made sense now. Every unusual tactic had a purpose. In the officers' mess, Kate found Lisa eating lunch alone. She approached with a data pad in her hands. "Commander, may I sit?" Lisa gestured to the empty chair. "Of course." Kate sat down and placed the data pad on the table. "I have been analyzing our engagement with the Krathian destroyers. The maneuvers you used, I ran simulations. According to every physics model we have, they should not work. The stress on the hull should be too great. The ship should tear itself apart. But they did work, Lisa smiled faintly. They work because the enemy does not expect them. Standard tactical doctrine is predictable. Enemies study your patterns. They prepare counters, but if you do something that should be impossible, something that breaks every rule they think you will follow, you create an opening, a moment of confusion, and in that moment you win. Where did you learn this? From fighting enemies who did not play by our rules. You adapt or you die. I adapted, she paused. How is the crew handling the increased training? Kate looked down at her data pad. They are exhausted, but morale is actually improving. I think they are starting to believe we might survive what is coming. Good. Because belief is half the battle. The other half is being prepared to do what needs to be done, even when it is hard. That night, Lisa stood on the observation deck. It was a small room with a large window looking out into space. Stars filled the darkness like diamonds scattered on black cloth. She stood there often, staring at them, thinking about all the battles she had fought among those stars. Danny found her there. He held 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this, he said, offering one. Thank you. She accepted it gratefully. They stood in silence for a while, just drinking their coffee and watching the stars. Finally, Danny spoke. I owe you an apology. When you first came aboard, I said you were a desk officer who did not know how to fight. I was wrong. You were not wrong, Lisa said. You were working with the information you had. That is all any of us can do. How many battles have you really fought? Lisa took a long sip of coffee before answering. More than I can count. Most of them were quick. Surgical strikes. Precision operations. Get in, complete the mission, get out. But some lasted days, weeks. Fighting ship to ship, deck by deck. Those are the ones that stay with you. The ones you remember when you close your eyes at night. Do you think we can win? When they come back? Yes, Lisa said firmly. Because this crew is better than they think they are. And because I have fought longer odds and survived. We will survive this too. Danny nodded and took another drink of his coffee. They stood there for a few more minutes in comfortable silence. Then Danny spoke again. The crew believes in you now. After what happened in the gym, after they saw your tattoos, they understand now. You are not some inexperienced officer. You are a warrior. I am just someone who has fought a long time, Lisa said quietly, and I am tired. But being tired does not matter. What matters is keeping these people alive. You will, Danny said. I believe that now. After he left, Lisa remained at the window. She thought about all the people she had lost over the years. Friends, comrades, good soldiers who died following her orders. She carried their memories with her always. Each name, each face. They were part of her now. Part of her past that would never go away. She looked down at her arms. The tattoos were more than just marks. They were promises. Promises to never forget. Promises to honor those who fell. Promises to keep fighting until the job was done. Lisa pulled out a small device from her pocket. It was a secure communicator. Only a handful of people in the entire fleet had one. She activated it and sent a brief message to intelligence. Crew is ready. Awaiting enemy arrival. Will hold position as ordered. The response came back almost immediately. Confirmed. Reinforcement standing by. Good luck, Shadow, Shadow, her old call sign from her Black Ops days. She had not heard it in years. It brought back memories. Some good, some bad. All of them heavy with the weight of things she could never tell anyone. She turned off the device and put it back in her pocket. Then she returned to staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krathian fleet was gathering, preparing, getting ready to attack. And when they came, she would be ready too. 2 days later, at 0300 hours, the alarm sounded again. But this time it was not a drill. Kate's voice came over the ship-wide comm, urgent and tight with tension. All hands to battle stations. Multiple contacts entering the sector. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Lisa was already on the bridge. She had been there for hours watching the long-range sensors. Waiting. She knew they were coming. Intelligence had given her a timeline. And intelligence was rarely wrong. The crew rushed to their stations. Everyone moved with purpose now. No confusion. No hesitation. 3 weeks of brutal training had made them sharp. Ready. They took their positions and checked their systems. Jake arrived on the bridge and The tactical display showed 18 red dots moving steadily toward them. Lisa stood in front of it, her arms crossed, studying the formation. The Krathians were being cautious this time. They had learned from their first encounter. The ships moved in a tight defensive formation with the two massive dreadnoughts at the center. Those dreadnoughts were the key. Destroy them and the rest of the fleet would fall apart. 15 minutes to weapons range, Kate announced. Her voice was steady. The fear from 3 weeks ago was gone. Now she sounded like a veteran. Lisa turned to face her crew. Here is what we are going to do. We are going to fly directly into the center of their formation. Silence. Jake looked up from his console. Commander, that is suicide. Only if they expect it, Lisa said. But they will not. Krathian tactical doctrine prioritizes formation integrity above everything else. They will hesitate to fire into their own ranks. That 3-second hesitation is all we need. She pulled up a complex diagram on the main display. Lines and arrows showed a ship path that weaved between enemy vessels. We will use pattern Epsilon 12. It is a close assault maneuver designed for exactly this scenario. Jake shook his head. I have never heard of pattern Epsilon 12, because it is classified Shadow Company doctrine. I helped develop it after the Battle of Rigel 7. She pointed to a specific tattoo on her arm. A date and coordinates. We used it to take down a Krathian battle group twice this size with 3 ships. We lost 2 of those ships, but we won. The crew absorbed this information. Their commander had fought battles they could barely imagine. Battles where victory meant losing 2/3 of your force, and she had won anyway. 10 minutes to engagement range, Kate said. Lisa walked back to her command chair. All power to engines and forward shields. Weapons, I want targeting solutions on every ship in that formation. Priority targets are the dreadnoughts. Hit their shield generators first, then their main weapons. Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the Krathian flagship, Kate said. They are demanding our surrender. Ignore it. Lisa's voice was cold as ice. Helm, when I give the order, maximum burn directly at their center. Do not slow down. Do not deviate. Straight through. The helmsman swallowed hard. His hands shook slightly on the controls. Yes, Commander. 5 minutes to engagement range. The Krathians are spreading their formation slightly. Lisa smiled grimly. Perfect. They are giving us more room to maneuver. Marines, stand by for boarding operations. When I disable those dreadnoughts, you will have 30 seconds to breach before their backup systems come online. Amy's voice came through the comm from the Marine Bay. We will be ready, Commander. Count on it 2 minutes. The Krathians are arming all weapons. The tension on the bridge was thick enough to touch. Every crew member sat at their station, hands ready on controls, eyes locked on displays. This was it. Everything they had trained for. Everything their commander had prepared them for. In 2 minutes, they would either win an impossible victory or die trying. Lisa gripped the armrests of her chair. Her knuckles turned white. 20 years of fighting had led to this moment. 20 years of battles in the dark. All of it coming down to the next few minutes. She thought about all the soldiers she had lost over the years. All the friends who never came home. She would not lose this crew. Not today. 1 minute, Kate whispered. Lisa took a deep breath, then another. Calming herself, focusing her mind, the universe narrowed down to the tactical display and the 18 red dots waiting for them. 30 seconds. All crew brace for combat. Execute pattern Epsilon 12 on my mark. The seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an hour. The Valiant rushed forward, engines burning at maximum power. The Krathian fleet loomed larger on the display. Closer, closer, almost there. Execute, Lisa said quietly. All weapons free, engage. The Valiant leaped forward like a hunting cat. The engines roared at 120% capacity, far beyond their normal limits. They shot past the first line of Krathian destroyers before the enemy could even react. The Krathians hesitated just as Lisa predicted. They did not want to fire and risk hitting their own ships. That hesitation cost them everything. Lisa called out coordinates and firing solutions faster than anyone thought possible. Her voice was calm and precise, like she was reading from a script. Firing solution Alpha 7, execute, roll port 10 degrees. Firing solution Beta 3, execute, dive, dive, dive. The Valiant danced through the enemy formation like a fighter ship, not a heavy cruiser. It twisted and rolled and dove with impossible grace. Weapons blazed from every gun port. Each shot found its target with perfect accuracy. Crathian shield generators exploded in brilliant flashes. Weapon systems went dark. Communication arrays shattered into pieces. The massive dreadnoughts designed to destroy opponents from long range found themselves helpless. The nimble human ship tore through their defenses like they were made of paper. Their huge guns could not track a target moving that fast that unpredictably. "They are trying to target us," Kate shouted over the chaos, "but they keep hitting each other instead." "Exactly as planned," Lisa said. "Helm, bring us around. Full broadside on the lead dreadnought." Marines prepared a breach. The Valiant spun in space. All of its main cannons lined up on the dreadnought. Then they fired, every gun at once. The barrage was devastating. The dreadnought's shields collapsed like a house of cards. Its weapon systems failed. Its engines went dark. It floated dead in space, a giant metal coffin Marines away. Amy's voice crackled through the comm. Breaching pods launched. 30 seconds to contact. Lisa watched the tactical display as small dots separated from the Valiant and streaked toward the disabled dreadnought. "Target the second dreadnought. Same pattern. We need both command ships out of this fight." The battle raged on. 15 minutes that felt like 15 hours. The Valiant took hits. Shields failing. Hull breaches on multiple decks. Casualties mounting. But the crew held together. They trusted their commander. They followed her orders without question. And slowly, impossibly, they were winning. The second dreadnought went dark. Another perfect shot. Another disabled command ship. The remaining Crathian vessels were breaking formation now. They were confused, disorganized. They had never faced anything like this. Never seen tactics like this. Never fought an enemy who seemed to know their every move before they made it. "Commander, the Crathian fleet is scattering," Kate reported. Her voice was filled with disbelief. "They are running." Lisa stood up from her chair. She walked to the main display and studied the enemy formation, or what was left of it. 2 dreadnoughts disabled. 3 destroyers destroyed. 4 more badly damaged. The rest fleeing at maximum speed. "Open a channel to all enemy ships." Kate pressed a few buttons. "Channel open, Commander." Lisa's voice was cold and hard. "All Crathian vessels, this is Commander Lisa Grant of the human vessel Valiant. You have 10 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. If you do not, I will destroy every single one of your ships. Choose now." 10 seconds of silence, the longest 10 seconds of her life. Then one by one, the Crathian ships went dark. Their engines stopped. Their weapons powered down. They surrendered. The bridge erupted in cheers. Crew members jumped from their seats. They hugged each other. They shouted with joy and relief and disbelief. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won. But Lisa did not celebrate. She stood calmly at the main display, studying the results. "Damage report. Casualty status. I want full accountability within 5 minutes." Jake turned from his console. His face showed pure shock. "Commander, we just fought 18 ships with 1 cruiser. And we won. How is that even possible? We won because this crew trusted each other and executed perfectly under extreme pressure," Lisa said. "That is what makes the difference between victory and defeat. Not the size of your fleet, not the power of your weapons. Trust and execution." She looked around the bridge at her crew. They were exhausted. Some were injured. All of them looked like they had been through hell. But they were alive. "Get me that status report. Contact Fleet Command and inform them we have secured 18 Crathian vessels. And get medical teams to the damaged sections immediately." As the crew rushed to follow her orders, Danny appeared on the bridge. He was covered in grease and soot from fighting fires and engineering. "Commander, I do not know how we are still in one piece, but we are. That was the most insane thing I have ever seen." Lisa smiled at him. A real smile this time. "Thank you, Chief. And thank your team. We could not have done this without them." The hours that followed were busy. Damage control teams worked to repair hull breaches. Medical teams treated the wounded. Amy and her Marines secured the 2 dreadnoughts and rounded up prisoners. The Valiant had taken a beating, but she was still flying. Still fighting. When the reinforcement fleet finally arrived, they found the battle already over. Admiral Victor Kane, commander of the sector fleet, stood on his flagship bridge and stared at his displays in complete disbelief. 1 cruiser had defeated 18 enemy ships. It should have been impossible. But the evidence was right there in front of him. He opened a comm channel to the Valiant. "Commander Grant, this is Admiral Kane. Please explain to me how you just accomplished what should have been impossible. Lisa appeared on his screen. She looked tired but composed. Admiral, we used unconventional tactics and aggressive maneuvers to disrupt their formation. The crew performed exit 3 days after the battle. Lisa stood in the conference room aboard Admiral Kane's flagship. The room was filled with senior officers, flag captains, strategic planners, intelligence analysts. All of them wanted to know how one ship had defeated 18, how one commander had accomplished the impossible. Lisa stood at the front of the room next to a large display screen. She wore her dress uniform, sleeves rolled down, hiding the tattoos. But everyone in the room knew they were there. Word had spread fast. The mysterious commander with the hidden past. The logistics officer who was really a shadow warrior. Admiral Kane sat in the front row. He gestured toward the display. Commander Grant, please walk us through your tactical approach. From the beginning, Lisa activated the display. A 3-dimensional map of the battle appeared. Red dots for enemy ships, a single green dot for the Valiant. The Krathians came with 18 ships in a defensive formation. 2 dreadnoughts at the center. Standard doctrine for them. They expected us to either run or hold position and delay until reinforcements arrived. She pressed a button. The green dot began moving on the display. We did neither. We attacked directly into the center of their formation. This violated their expectations and created confusion. The Krathians hesitated to fire because they risked hitting their own ships. That hesitation gave us the opening we needed. A captain in the 3rd row raised his hand. Commander, that maneuver should have been suicide. How did you know it would work? Lisa met his eyes. I knew it would work because I have used it before. Against Krathian forces. Multiple times. It worked then. It worked now. Admiral Kane leaned forward. Your official record shows no combat experience. Yet you speak as if you have fought the Krathians many times. Care to explain that contradiction? The room went silent. Everyone watched Lisa, waiting for her answer. She took a slow breath. My official record shows what intelligence wanted it to show. A cover identity. For 20 years, I commanded special operations against multiple hostile forces. Most of those operations remain classified. They will probably stay classified for the next 50 years. An intelligence officer stood up. Shadow Company. You led Shadow Company. Is that correct? Lisa nodded once. Yes, for 5 years. Before that, I served with other units. All of them classified. Murmurs filled the room. Shadow Company was a legend. Most people thought it was just a story. A myth created to scare enemies. But it was real. And this small woman standing at the front of the room had commanded it. Admiral Kane stood up. Everyone except Commander Grant and myself, please leave the room. This conversation is now classified. The other officers filed out, talking in low voices. When the door closed, the Admiral turned to Lisa. How many operations did you really command? 47 major operations. Dozens of smaller ones. Over 20 years. And you kept this secret for how long? 20 years. My cover was necessary to protect ongoing operations and the people still working in the field. If my real identity became known, it would compromise dozens of active agents. The Admiral walked to the window. Stars filled the darkness beyond. Intelligence sent you here knowing what was coming. They knew the Krathians were planning an attack. They needed someone who could hold the line. Someone with your experience, yes, sir. And now your secret is out. The crew knows. My officers know. Soon the whole fleet will know. How do you feel about that? Lisa was quiet for a moment. Relieved, actually. Tired of hiding, tired of pretending to be something I am not. For 20 years I fought in the shadows, did things that needed to be done but could never be acknowledged. It will be good to fight in the light for once. Admiral Kane turned to face her. You and your crew did something remarkable. You held off an entire fleet with one ship. You saved 3,000 civilians, and you captured 2 dreadnoughts intact. Fleet Command wants to give you a medal. Multiple medals, actually. I do not need medals, sir. My crew does. They trusted me even when they did not understand who I was. They followed orders that seemed insane. They deserve recognition. You will all get recognition, but you especially. Whether you want it or not, he smiled slightly. You are going to become famous, Commander. The logistics officer who turned out to be a legendary warrior. The media will love that story, Lisa groaned. I hate the media. Too bad. Part of being in the light instead of the shadows. You will have to get used to it. Back on the Valiant, the crew was celebrating. The mess hall was packed with people. Music played. People laughed and told stories about the battle. The tension from the past 3 weeks had finally broken. They had survived. They had won. And they had done it together. Jake sat at a table with Kate, Danny, Amy, and Steve. They each had drinks in front of them. Non-alcoholic since they were still on duty, but it felt like a celebration anyway. "I still cannot believe we did it," Kate said. 18 ships. We should all be dead. "We are alive because of the commander," Amy said. She knew exactly what to do. Every move, every shot. Like she could see the future. "Not the future," Jake said. "The past." She had fought battles like this before. She knew what would work because she had done it before. That is the advantage of experience. Steve raised his glass. "To Commander Grant, the warrior we did not know we had." They all raised their glasses and drank. Around them, other crew members did the same. Toast to the commander. Toasts to the Valiant. Toast to survival and victory and the impossible odds they had beaten. Later that night, Lisa returned to the Valiant. She walked through the corridors and crew members saluted as she passed. Not the uncertain salutes from 3 weeks ago. These were crisp and respectful. They knew who she was now. They understood. She made her way to the observation deck. Her favorite spot on the ship. The place where she came to think. To remember. To process everything that had happened. She found Jake already there, standing by the window. He turned when she entered. "Commander, I thought I might find you here." "Cannot sleep?" Lisa asked. "Too much adrenaline still in my system." "You? Old habit. I never sleep much after a battle. Too many things to think about." They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Finally, Jake spoke. "Thank you. For keeping us alive. For trusting us enough to reveal who you really are. You earned that trust. This crew earned it. You followed orders that seemed crazy. You trusted me even when you had no reason to. That takes courage, and what happens now? Do you go back to intelligence? Back to the shadows?" Lisa shook her head. "No, my time in the shadows is over. The secret is out. I am a ship commander now. A real one. Not a cover identity. Not a temporary assignment. This is what I do now." "Good," Jake said, "because this crew would follow you anywhere. You proved yourself. You saved our lives. You are our commander. Not just on paper." "For real," Lisa smiled. "I am honored to lead them. All of you. You are a good crew. Better than many teams I worked with in special operations. You learned fast. You adapted. You trusted. That is rare. We had a good teacher." Over the next few weeks, the story spread through the fleet like wildfire. The Battle of Kepler Sector became legendary. 1 cruiser against 18 enemy ships. Victory against impossible odds. And at the center of it all, Commander Lisa Grant. The woman who had spent 20 years fighting in secret. The warrior nobody knew existed. Media outlets requested interviews. She declined most of them. She gave one brief statement to the fleet press office. The crew of the Valiant performed exceptionally under extreme pressure. They deserve all the credit. I was just doing my job. But the story grew anyway. People wanted to know about Shadow Company. About the classified operations. About the battles fought in darkness. Intelligence refused to comment. Most records remained sealed. But enough information leaked out to paint a picture. Lisa Grant had spent 2 decades as one of the most dangerous people in the fleet. And nobody knew it. The Krathians, for their part, were shocked. They had sent their best fleet to destroy 1 human ship and capture a colony. Instead, they lost 2 dreadnoughts, 3 destroyers, and had the rest of their fleet scattered. And it was all done by 1 commander, 1 woman. The Krathians began calling her Shadow Death, a name that spread fear through their ranks. 2 months after the battle, Lisa stood on the bridge of the Valiant. They were patrolling the Kepler sector again. Everything was quiet. The Krathians had pulled back. They were not interested in testing the Valiant again anytime soon. Jake sat at his station, monitoring long-range sensors. Kate worked at communications. Danny was in engineering, keeping the ship running smoothly. Amy and her Marines drilled in the cargo bay. Everything was normal, routine, peaceful. Lisa looked around the bridge at her crew. They had changed so much in just a few months. They moved with confidence now. They knew their jobs. They trusted each other. And they trusted her. That meant more to her than any medal or recognition. Her communicator beeped. A message from intelligence. She read it quickly. Lieutenant Morrison, change course. We have new orders. Jake looked up. Where are we going, Commander? Lisa smiled. The Arcturus sector. Intelligence reports enemy activity. They want the Valiant to investigate. Another suicide mission? Kate asked with a grin. Probably, Lisa said. But we are good at those now. Laughter filled the BR.